Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So I am barefaced, which means that we're doing something extra crazy today. I saw this going around. I saw Tati Westbrook do it. Basically a lot of people have done this, but I'm going to be doing a full face using only powder products. Now, that means no liquid foundation, no liquid concealers, no cream contours. I'm not even doing like setting spray. Like I'm doing straight up nothing that is not powder. So that's going to be a challenge. I'm not excited for it, but I am so reliant on high coverage fluid foundations and stuff that honestly, I need to like force myself to do something a little bit out of my comfort zone. So if that's something you're into, make sure to keep on watching and please don't forget to subscribe because I do upload twice a week and that is the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off with primer, I don't have one because powder primers are not a thing. So unfortunately, we're going in bare skin today, and I'm gonna grab my Morphe M439, a buff blending brush that normally I would use for foundation. And I'm gonna be using this with my Studio Fix powder foundation today. I use this as a setting powder. I don't actually use this as a powder foundation. So this is gonna be, oh, that's not bad. Okay, we're getting a little bit of coverage out of this. Not as much as, obviously, my actual foundations, but that's not bad. So I am noticing that I am getting much better coverage by pressing as opposed to by swirling. So we're just going to take that everywhere. So my biggest fears with this, first off, is that it's gonna look really powdery, which is, you know, obviously highly possible. And the second thing was that there would not be enough coverage. And I'm definitely seeing the not enough coverage thing, but I mean, it's not looking as bad. The redness is definitely gone. This is definitely working. If you know of a super full coverage foundation powder, something that I could go in with like, just like this, and get my normal high coverage look, let me know down below in the comment section, because now that I'm thinking about it, I really want to see what is out there for super high coverage powder foundations. And don't say Bare Minerals, because I've tried that one and I am actually not a fan. It breaks me out. Oh shoot. Okay, so I just realized that there is no powder eye primer. So I'm actually going to take this and try and cancel out some of the redness on my lids as much as I possibly can. I'm like low-key really enjoying how this is looking. Okay, I know that this is gonna kind of seem like overkill, but the coverage isn't quite there. So I'm gonna take the Cody Airspun Loose Setting Powder. This is in the shade Translucent with extra coverage. That's the fun part. So I'm gonna take this and I'm just going to kind of add a little bit more coverage to the nose, cheeks, and under eye, because these are the places that I find I really like coverage. I actually really like this, like more than I thought I would. And then just to try and get this to last all day long, I'm gonna take a little bit of the Colourpop No Filter Sheer Pressed Powder. This has a little bit less coverage, but I find it's really good for blotting. And I'm just gonna take that, and I'm gonna take that just into the under eye area, because this is a shade lighter than I normally would go in with. So we're gonna try and use this to pre-brighten the under eye. So for bronzer and contour, I'm gonna take the Morphe 8L Lo-Fi Sculpting Palette, which has been my favorite for a little while now. And I'm gonna take a mixture, because I don't have as much coverage today, my skin is not nearly as pasty as it normally is, because this is something I've actually noticed that a couple people in the comment section have pointed out, but because of my redness in my face, my skin could go one of two ways. I can go to like light mediums, or I can go straight up fair. Typically, I'll go in with more of a light fair foundation because I can always add bronzer and it always looks a little light, but it wears well. Like today, because I'm just kind of going in with the powders, it's looking a little bit like less coverage and it just evened everything out. And I definitely look a little darker than I normally do. So because of that, instead of going into the lighter shades, I'm actually going to be taking the darker two shades. So I'm going to take a little bit of Enemy and use that to bronze the cheeks. Actually gonna take a brush that's a little more dense, and I'm gonna take a mixture of these two shades right here, and I'm just gonna use that to contour. So because the under eyes are looking a little sunken, because I haven't actually gotten a concealer, I'm gonna take the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder and hope that because this is so bright, that it will give us a little bit more of a brightening effect. You see the difference already? Like, that's why I love this powder, because this one just really helps to brighten. Like, this is one of my favorites anyway, just to set down my concealer. But like, this is proving to me right here that I could actually go less on the concealer because of how much this powder does. So the cheeks are looking a little bit underwhelming, and I don't know if it's because just my skin is a little darker than it normally is, so my normal contour palettes aren't giving me the same color I want. So I'm gonna go into the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Medium Deep. This is actually Brandon's setting powder, and I'm gonna take this and add just a little bit to the cheeks. The reason I love the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish powders is that they sit so nicely on the skin, but they really they don't get powdery, they don't get gross looking, and they just give such a multi-dimensional skin-like finish. Now I'm gonna go back into my powder brush, and I'm just gonna kind of sweep everything just to kind of take down a little of the powderiness since I don't have a setting spray to use. So for blush, I'm gonna be going into, as always, the Note Cosmetics Luminous Silk Blush in Desert Rose that I got in my BoxyCharm this month. And I'm going to take even less of it than I normally do because there's so little coverage. So much of my redness is coming through that I don't want to add more redness. And going back into the foundation powder from earlier, there's nothing left on the brush. It's just the brush I used. I'm just going to kind of press those together just to kind of melt them together as much as I possibly can without a setting spray. I'm really not hating this. Like, are you as shocked as I am? Because I am genuinely shocked. For highlighter today, I'm going to be going into the Collab Beauty The Filter Highlighting Powder. This is the Glow for the Gold one. I used these in a full face of Collab Beauty a very long time ago. And lately, I've been cleaning out my collection. I've been going through stuff, and I've been kind of picking up things that I've been neglecting, and I tried this again. And for drugstore and affordable and Sally's Beauty, this is beautiful. And I don't understand why I stopped using it, other than, new things come out and I get excited and distracted. But do you see how blinding this is? And this is affordable. These are not expensive at all. And then with my blush brush, I'm just gonna kind of blend where the blush meets the highlight, just so that it becomes a little bit more seamless and a little more natural looking. So I know that this is gonna be a struggle, so I'm actually gonna do it off camera, but I'm gonna be taking the Browgal brow powders, and I'm gonna be using this just to fill in my brows today. They don't need much. They actually look better on camera than they do off camera, so it's not gonna be all that crazy, but I'm just gonna do this real quick and I'll be right back. So the brows are as on as they are ever going to be using only powders. So let's jump into eyes. So I'm gonna be dipping into the Urban Decay Born to Run palette today, just because, honestly, why not? I'm gonna start by going into Weekender, this matte shade that is basically my skin tone. Be careful if you dip in too hard, there's a lot of kick up with these. And I'm just gonna use this to kind of set down this entire area. I know I went in with a foundation powder, but honestly, the pigmentation in the shadows is a little bit higher, so I'm hoping this will cancel out my redness a little bit more. So I'm gonna go pretty quickly through this just because this is not an eye tutorial, but I'm gonna take Riff right here. Then I'm gonna be taking Good Is Gone, the deep brown, and I'm just gonna use the two of those to deepen up the crease. Then going into Hell Ride down here, I'm just gonna kind of add a little bit of this red into the crease just to warm up these browns a little bit. Then going into a large fluffy brush, I'm just gonna blend out those edges. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of Punk mixed with Jet on a super tiny brush, and I'm just gonna use those to intensify the outer V of the eye. Now I'm going to take Double Life down here, the beautiful copper shade, and I'm not going to spray it with anything because obviously I don't have anything to spray it with. Struggles. That's really pretty, but I'm literally getting like no reflection out of it. A little upsetting. Just going to blend out those edges a little bit. And I'm actually going to take a little bit on my finger to see if that kind of helps intensify the shimmer any. Oh, it does. Okay, that helps a little. Not much, but a little. To amp this up a little bit, I'm going to go into Stranded right here, and I'm going to take that on the center of the lid. That shade has a lot more reflect in it, dry. So I'm going to go mirror all of that on the lower lash line, and I'll be right back. So there is a little bit of fallout that's getting a little dark. I'm going to take a little more of that Essence powder and re-brighten the under eye. So now I'm going to just curl my lashes since I don't get to put on mascara. So now I'm going to take a little bit of Blaze right here, and I'm just going to hit up the inner corner and the brow bone. So the tone of the highlighter on the cheeks is a little off. So I'm going to grab Uncensored, which is also from Collab Beauty, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that to the cheeks, just because the tone of the gold one is a little bit, well, gold, and I want something a little more champagne. So now on a flat brush, I'm going to dip back into Jet, the black shade of the palette, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that to both the waterline, and I'm going to smudge a little bit on the top lashes as well. So I do wish that I had lashes for this, but honestly, kind of defeats the purpose of the challenge. So we're going to not add lashes, and we're going to move on to lips. And this is where things are going to get a little interesting. Now, I will be using the same Born to Run palette for my lip today, just because I don't have cream or powder lipsticks. I know they do have them. I did not pick any up because I'm horrible. So I'm going to take a little bit of Still Shot, this coral shade, and I'm actually going to just dust that on the lips. That worked surprisingly well. And then I'm going to go into Stranded up here, and I'm going to just pat that on the lip as well. And that's just going to give us a little bit of a glossy glow. That looks really nude. I'm actually going to take a little bit of Ignite, which is a little bronzier, and add that just so it's not quite as nude. And that is the finished look. So the one thing that I will say that I am not loving when I get in really close, it's definitely powdery, obviously. It is definitely, you know, sitting on top of this skin. It hasn't really sunk in, which I know part of that has to do with the fact that there is no primer. Another thing has to do with the fact that there was no setting spray. So there's really nothing to like sandwich everything together and make it look skin-like. So the video is over. So I'm going to take a little setting spray just to see if this will make this like wearable. And that basically just saved everything. Everything is kind of sunk into the skin a little bit. Everything looks a little bit more seamless. It's making me think maybe I should be giving more powder products a chance and not going in with like super full coverage foundations and concealers, because as much as I love them, this doesn't look bad. So let me know down below what you think, and please don't forget to leave me your powder foundation recommendations, because this one is great, but if they have one that's even more full coverage that I could get away with using instead of a cream foundation, I would love to give that a try and continue to broaden my horizons. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye.